that of Orland, and I mean it is wonderful to see and be reminded that that God is in control, you know, and that He knows when things are going to happen before they happen. In the sense of Pastor shared that Orland had said that he was planning on taking his car to work that day, but for some reason he took his truck. You know, God told him, no, you need your truck today.
Yeah, apparently everything he needed for work
Yep.
was in his truck.
Yep.
And he just said, you know, 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I just didn't feel like moving everything over.
Yeah.
So I just jumped in the truck.
Yeah. So that even takes it a step further. God made sure everything was in the
Everything
truck
there,
already. You know. Yep.
God had it all planned up.
Yep. Exactly. I mean, what a and also what a praise that is. You know, with when you had said that you stopped in to see him. You know, and there was no. You know, how I'll put it, no whining, no boo-hooing, you know, oh, I got a car accident. It was just, oh, you know, God was awesome. God was in control. God protected me, you know. It's what an awesome testimony right there, too. So go ahead and open up your Bibles tonight to Joshua chapter 3. Joshua chapter 3. Now, we, as a reminder, there are times in this study where we may lead off on purpose, sometimes not on purpose, but on rabbit trails. However, there are other times when you might think, oh, well, Nate, there's a great sermon right there in that, okay? And the reason why we are not, that we tend to at times not go real deep into it is just for the sake of the type of study that we are doing. Mainly looking at the person that we are looking at that time, tonight being Joshua. So if you remember from last week, we had looked at the account of Rahab and the two spies, how that she protected them, and that they gave her their word that as long as she kept her end of the deal, that her and her whole house would be spared from the upcoming destruction of Jericho. And so now as we get into chapter 3, so let's see, first of all, I want to read verse 24 of chapter 2. So the last verse of chapter 2 real quick. This is right after the two spies have returned to Joshua. Okay? They said unto Joshua, truly the Lord hath delivered into our hands all the land, for even all the inhabitants of the country do faint because of us. Okay, they immediately, their first reaction was not necessarily that we can do this. Okay, they're saying, we're seeing their faith. We're seeing them saying, the Lord has given this to us. Okay, and so then as we see the faith of those two men, we are now going to see some real faith when it comes to Joshua. Chapter 3 is a chapter that's not quite so well known. Okay, it's not one of those popular accounts of Joshua. Okay, Joshua, when he was a spy under Moses going to the Promised Land, of course. So everybody knows that about Joshua. People know another famous account, of course, is the walls tumbling down when he meets an angel. You know, all these, there are certain little bits and pieces that people know about Joshua. However, there is this one chapter here, chapter 3, that I was not even aware of when I started reading, started studying. So first of all, one thing that I want to pull out, let's read the first 3 verses of Joshua chapter 3. And Joshua rose early in the morning, and they removed from Shittim and came to Jordan, he and all the children of Israel, and lodged there before they passed over. And it came to pass after 3 days that the officers went through the host, and they commanded the people, saying, when ye see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, and the priests, the Levites, bearing it, then ye shall remove from your place and go after it. Verse 4, they just give a measurement of I'll call it an air gap, okay, that they are to have from the Ark of the Covenant, okay. Essentially, much bigger of a gap, but essentially when we were in the height of COVID, gotta stay 6 feet apart, stand on those dots or those lines or footprints, whatever the stickers were at the stores and everything, keeping 6 feet apart. This is there to stay a certain amount away. One thing I want to pull out from these verses, this is one of those instances where it's, Nate, you could go so much more into this, okay? For the sake of the study, I'm not. And that is what I am pulling from these 3 verses here is when they are, okay, how can I say this? They did not, the command that they were given was not, okay, people, you need to protect the Ark of the Covenant. This Ark of the Covenant is important. What was it? Let the Ark go first, and you need to follow. Remember how the Ark of the Covenant was the new form of God leading them. Okay? Before, with the Israelites, it was a pillar of cloud by day, a pillar of fire at night. Okay, that's how God led them. Well, now the Ark of the Covenant is what signifies God leading them. So one thing that we can easily, I feel easily anyways, that we can get from this is we need to let God lead. Okay? I mean, quite as simple and plain as that. And why, though? Okay? Why should we let God lead? Well, we're going to skip down quite a few verses here. And this, the verses that we are skipping is Joshua giving directions to the people and such, okay? And let's see, verse 13 is where we're going to pick it up. This is Joshua speaking. And it shall come to pass, as soon as the soles of the feet of the priests that bear the ark of the Lord of all the earth, shall rest in the waters of Jordan, that the waters of Jordan shall be cut off from the waters that come down from above, and they shall stand upon an heap. Excuse me. And it came to pass, when the people removed from their tents to pass over Jordan, and the priests bearing the ark of the covenant before the people, and as they that bear the ark were coming into Jordan, and the feet of the priests that bear the ark were dipped in the brim of the water, for Jordan overfloweth all his banks all the time of harvest, that the waters which came down from above stood and rose up upon an heap, very far from the city Adam, that is beside Zeratan. And those that came down toward the sea of the plain, even the salt sea, failed and were cut off. And the people passed over right against Jericho. And the priests that bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord stood firm on dry ground in the midst of Jordan. And all the Israelites passed over on dry ground until all the people were passed clean over Jordan. So why should we let God lead? Well, when we let God lead, who knows what may happen? We may see miracles. I mean, that is what so the Israelites that we are seeing right now are Israelites that when they were, it's a possibility that some of them were not even born with the crossing of the Red Sea, or they were very young at the crossing of the Red Sea, okay? So very few, other than Joshua and Caleb, very few of them would have remembered that. Okay, so this is their own little, I'll call it little, crossing of the Red Sea. But in this instance, what it is, this miracle that they see is let God lead. It says as soon as the Levites, those carrying the Ark of the Covenant, as soon as their foot stepped into the Jordan River. The Jordan River is not necessarily a small river, but one thing on top of that, okay, is we know what time of year it was that they were coming through, and that, or else it wouldn't have been mentioned in here. It was during harvest time. So this is making it even more, okay, the Jordan River has flooded its banks. There's a lot more water there than there typically would be other times of the year. So it makes it even more significant. It wasn't something where the Levites walked through the water where it flowed over the banks. You know, they were ankle deep. It says as soon as their foot touched the brim, as soon as those first two Levites that were on the front, carrying the very front of the Ark of the Covenant, as soon as their feet touched the first little bit of water, the water stopped, the water parted. Now, there are two things that you can look at here as far as it being parted and the water being stopped up. We don't know exactly, okay, how much of a gap, how much of a gap there was for them to go through. Israelite nation was large though, okay, so it had to have been fairly big, and I did some research, and if you go from what they are saying here with the different distances and cities and the Salt Sea, that sort of thing, it is roughly 20 to 25 miles. So I don't know, maybe it was less than that. It could have been that whole 20 to 25 miles that stopped up. I mean, either way, it was a large amount of water to allow all of them to pass through. But then another beautiful picture that comes of this is not just that miracle of them parting, and having God lead the way, but then you notice when the Levites got into the center, okay, they got to the deepest part of where the Jordan would have, the deepest part of the Jordan, they stopped there. And the picture that comes to my head is where when they stopped, the rest of the whole Israelite nation passes through. It's just the picture that comes into my head is God standing there, like holding the floodwaters back. Go ahead, guys. I got it for you. You're safe. And it's just when we let God lead, when we let God truly have control, who knows what we'll see, who knows what we will experience in our lives. And this is a wonderful miracle that the Israelite nation at this point were able to see. Now, one might go and say, well, the first one, the crossing of the Red Sea, that's much bigger. That was a much bigger body of water. That's a much more profound miracle that happened. Yes, but look at the faith. The faith level of that Israelite generation versus the Israelite generation that we're seeing now. The Israelite generation from the Red Sea, their faith was very little. okay? They needed the bigger miracles, okay? They needed, I mean, as we saw, as we were looking at Moses, it was their thanks for it, their awe in it, their, did not last very long at all. And that's, just a testament as to what level their faith truly was. And even when going right up to Joshua and Caleb and the other 10 spies had gone into the land, and they came out, the 10 came out scared and everything. Whereas the Israelite nation we're looking at now, we've already seen bits and pieces, small little snippets of their faith. Okay, their faith that they have is at such a significantly higher plane that the miracles, the encouragement that they need, the reminders they need, don't have to be as profound, as immense as the original generation had needed.
It's similar to the fact that the Jews at all needed, like in the New Testament, they needed signs and wonders.
Mm-hmm.
Gentiles didn't need any of those signs and wonders.
Right. Yep.
Because their faith was stronger.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. And that's really, and we can see that in even in our lives nowadays. People who have a much higher level of faith in God, okay? If you were to see them and go, wait a second, here's this person, you would think that because their faith is so great, they should be seeing these great and immense and profound things going on in their life. Why is it that this other person whose faith is more on the small side, okay, maybe just starting to grow or whatever, why are they seeing more profound things? It's because that's what they need. The person with the higher amount of faith, okay, because of that, they are already in the point of trusting in God and relying on God easier. It's gotten to a point in their life where it's a little more, comes more natural, you could say, to them. It's easier for them. So they don't need those big reminders to them of God's presence or God's power. So once they go and the Israelites here go and they have passed through, they have gotten all upon the other side. Joshua then in chapter 4, Joshua they're to put up two different memorials, okay, of this. We'll start right in verse 1 of chapter 4. And it came to pass when all the people were clean passed over Jordan, that the Lord spake unto Joshua, saying, Take you 12 men out of the people, out of every tribe a man, and command ye them, saying, Take you hence out of the midst of Jordan, out of the place where the priest's feet stood firm, 12 stones. And ye shall carry them over with you, and leave them in the lodging place where you shall lodge this night. Okay, so this first memorial is one man from each tribe. And when it says they are picking up, they're to pick up a stone, I just want to let you guys know, we're not talking about something small. Okay, this is going to be a memorial. This is going to be large. So they would have obviously they wouldn't have been choosing, a young guy who was just, let's say, not blessed with strength, okay? Physical strength in that sense. They could choose anybody they wanted. And as they were to pick up a stone, okay, one of the stones in the middle of the river where the Levites stood. And they were to bring those 12 stones up. And on the opposite side of the river, where they spent that night, they were to erect a memorial, a little monument, you might say, out of those 12 stones, signifying how God had brought them through and brought them across the river. And then let's see, verse 8, the children of Israel did so as Joshua commanded, and took up 12 stones at the midst of Jordan, as the Lord spake unto Joshua, according to the number of tribes of the children of Israel, carried them over with them unto the place where they lodged, and laid them down there. And then there is a second memorial that is done. Joshua himself went down, so this obviously would have been before the Levites had fully exited out. He went to the exact spot of where they had stood with the Ark of the Covenant while everyone passed over. And he erected a monument there that would be underwater. I am really curious. I am really curious if you were to go to the Jordan River and be able to, figure out and see if there is some sort of monument, some sort of abnormal stack of rocks or something like that, of large stones under the river still. There are so many other places where they're discovering, even today, still, more and more things, over in the Middle East that are proving these Bible accounts true. After all these years, they are finding things. So that gets my mind thinking, I wonder if there's still a stack or mound of rocks that are still there under the Jordan River. And so that's the next thing that Joshua does. Right in the middle, he put one up there. And then we are going to go and skip down a little bit more, okay? We are going to go right to chapter 5 now. Chapter 5, we're still leading up to Jericho and the conquest of Jericho. However, Joshua knows I'll call it the scriptures at that point. Okay, I'll call it the scriptures. The commands that God has given, all the instruction that has been given over the years, even from back in the birth of the nation, with Abraham and such. Okay, he knows this. Let's go ahead and start reading right in verse 1 of chapter 5. And it came to pass when all the kings of the Amorites, which were on the side of Jordan westward, and all the kings of the Canaanites, which were by the sea, heard that the Lord had dried up the waters of Jordan from before the children of Israel, until we were passed over, that their heart melted, neither was their spirit in them any more, because of the children of Israel. Another point what we're seeing right here. We're not talking about one. We're talking all of the military. All of these cities, it's saying all around, okay? Not a one, okay, had any heart at that point. When they heard now of this, it's just like, it's those that may have still had a little bit in them of, it is a big nation, but we're strong, we might be able to take them out. That's gone now, okay? It said that their hearts melted. They were just, nope. There's no way that we can overcome the children of Israel. Verse 2, at that time the Lord said unto Joshua, make thee sharp knives, and circumcise again the children of Israel the second time. And Joshua made him sharp knives, and circumcised the children of Israel at the hill of the foreskins. And this is the cause why Joshua did circumcise. All the people that came out of Egypt that were males, even all the men of war, died in the wilderness by the way after they came out of Egypt. Now all the people that came out were circumcised, but all the people that were born in the wilderness, by the way, as they came forth out of Egypt, them they had not circumcised. For the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness, till all the people that were men of war, which came out of Egypt, were consumed, because they obeyed not the voice of the Lord, unto whom the Lord sware that he would not show them the land which the Lord sware unto their fathers, that he would give us, a land that floweth with milk and honey. And their children, whom he raised up in their stead, them Joshua circumcised, for they were uncircumcised, because they had not circumcised them by the way. Okay, so what we are seeing here is the Israelite nation had fallen away from some of those commands that God had originally set up, okay, with Abraham. One of which is to be set apart would be to be for the males to be circumcised, and the ones that had that originally were young enough, okay, were, say, like what I had mentioned earlier, okay, they were very young, but they saw the parting of the Red Sea. They had been circumcised. But all of those that were born in the wilderness, in that 40 years of wandering, those ones, they never did. They never, for whatever reason they wanted to come up with, they never did circumcise that generation. So it was important for all these people, all these men, to be circumcised. And then if you notice in verse 9, the Lord said to Joshua, "This day have I rolled away the reproach of Egypt from off you. Wherefore the name of the place is called Gilgal unto this day." And the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month, at even in the plains of Jericho. They went through with this, and this was their sign of putting off. And putting off Egypt is also a sign of us in the sense of putting off the world, okay? Yeah. Putting off those old things and being set apart as we are to be as Christians ourselves. We are to be...
My understanding is they should not have gone down to Egypt anyhow.
Right, yeah, no, they really shouldn't have. I mean, it... yeah, easiest way to put it, yeah. We'll just...
They were figuring out a way to do what they wanted to do on their own.
Right, yes. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, they should not have gone down there in the first place. That was not God's plan, original plan for them. However, obviously, God could not let the Israelite nation stay in captivity, could not allow the Israelite nation to possibly come to an end, because that would mean then that there's no timeline for Jesus, which would mean no salvation for his people, which would mean there'd be no chance of his creation being able to spend eternity with him.
An Old Testament commandment they're keeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Yep. So what we are seeing, there is another thing that I'm sure the Israelite nation, no matter how great their faith was, okay? This next little thing, I say little, I'm sure was a very large thing for them. Okay, right in verse 11. "And they did eat of the old corn of the land on the morrow, after the Passover, unleavened cakes and parched corn in the selfsame day. And the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten of the old corn of the land. Neither had the children of Israel manna anymore, but they did eat of the fruit of the land of Canaan that year." Imagine the delight. No more manna. No more manna for breakfast, manna for lunch, manna for dinner. No more. They were going to be able to eat of those those grapes that if you remember, that the spies had brought back. 8 of those pomegranates, and all the other fruits and vegetables and such that were plentiful in that land. I mean, I'm sure it was a profound thing for them in the sense of their faith, with the parting of the water for the Jordan River. But at the same time, being a man who, they say the quickest way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Proof of that. First, Cassie and I, first time I went to go and pick her up for our first date. She was living with Beth and Bonnie. I pull up there and, she comes walking out of the house holding a gallon-sized baggie full of homemade cookies. It's just like, I'm gonna marry this girl. But anyways, I mean, I can only imagine the happiness, okay, the joy that came from not having to eat that manna anymore, okay, and being able to eat of the luscious fruits and vegetables of the land. Okay, we have a little bit more time here. This is now, the next few verses here, is when Joshua encounters someone. Okay? Verse 13, and it came to pass when Joshua was by Jericho, that he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there stood a man over against him, with his sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua went unto him and said unto him, Art thou for us, or for our adversaries? Now, looking at this, okay, we do not see that Joshua, it does not say that Joshua drew his sword as well. Okay, but we can see whether you say it's see his level of faith, or his level of his cojones, as he's. But what is it? It doesn't say from afar. He yells to him. Okay, it says Joshua went unto him. Here is this man standing there with his sword drawn. And Joshua goes right up to him. Yes?
Before I forget, when they were done with the steady diet of the manna, the matzah that they had today, is that a sign of remembrance of those times?
I'm not sure. Do you? No?
It is unleavened. Matzah is like a flat.
I was going to say matzah considered an unleavened bread, so it might have to do with that. It very well might. I'm not sure myself. I'm not versed enough in the Jewish beliefs and that sort of thing as far as the significance of it. Is it just simply unleavened bread, or does it have a deeper meaning to it?
Well, the Jews use it when they do these Seder's and such.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so.
Yeah, they use it for the Seder's and use it for the.
Okay, well, in that case, it very well might be remembering that time.
The unleavened bread was when they were leaving Egypt, they were in a hurry and they couldn't have time for their regular lives.
Yeah.
So that's why they used unleavened bread. And so that was prior to the manna,
Right.
when that was established.
That's true. Yeah.
And leavening also was an indication of sin.
Mm-hmm.
So they were supposed to purge the sin out of their houses and so forth for the Passover.
Yep.
So I'm not sure that the manna would have had anything to do with the unleavened bread.
Mm-hmm.
The manna was something special for them to eat while they were in the wilderness.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was sweet versus the.
Yeah,
matzah.
Yeah,
Regular.
yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, no, matzah has about as much taste as, I was gonna say,
No taste.
I was gonna say, has about as much taste as those little wafers that come with when we do communion, those little things there. But actually, yeah, thank you, Steve, for that. I know that you did, with the type of study that you've been doing with Sunday school, you know, and you probably came across some of that with them, so yeah, I appreciate the extra insight there. So what we are seeing here, okay, so as a reminder, so Joshua, you know, sees this guy with his sword drawn in hand. We don't see Joshua, it doesn't say he took a couple steps backwards. He said, hey, are you for us? Or are you against us? Nope. Joshua walked right up to the guy, started approaching him. Okay? Who are you for? Verse 14, and he said, this is the man that was standing there with the sword drawn. And he said, nay, but as captain of the host of the Lord am I now come. And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and did worship, and said unto him, what saith my Lord unto his servant? And the captain of the Lord's host said to Joshua, loose thy shoe from off thy foot, for the place whereon thou standest is holy. And Joshua did so.
It's the same thing that he said to Moses at the very
Yes, take your shoes off, yes. Now, there are two opinions on who this is. Okay, some say that it is actually Jesus, God the Son, and that's why it says you take your shoes off because you're standing on holy ground. It wouldn't be that way if it was just an angel. Okay, if it was, I always get them mixed up, and I didn't put it down. Michael?
Michael.
Yeah, Michael, the archangel, who would have been the one in charge of the armies of God, okay? But if it was Jesus, I really think that when it says here, let's see, very end of verse 14, when Joshua speaks to him, what saith my Lord unto his servant? Lord is not capitalized. But you see,
It should be.
I was going to say before that and after that, where it mentions the captain of the Lord's host, Lord is capitalized.
Mine is capitalized.
Mine is capitalized in all this.
Mine is commander of the Lord's army, but it's
Yeah.
capitalized.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, I've got it.
When in Hebrew, there's two different words. for Lord.
Probably, I'll have to look at that.
One is a general, Lord.
We'll see.
Like Lord, somebody superior, whereas the other is the captain of the Lord's host being God's host.
Yeah. Well, see, I mean, that's what I was going to go off of that, was that since the L was not capitalized here, I was going off of the sense of that he is saying, so say it's, I was leaning towards Michael because he was saying, Michael, obviously you're above me, I am your servant, my Lord, like what you were saying, and not in the sense of that he was speaking to God himself.
Like Michael would not have allowed him to bow down.
No,
That's
Michael would have said, get up, I'm a man just like you.
yeah.
That's
The
okay,
only guy
that's
to bow
true.
down is when it's the Lord Jesus Christ.
That's true.
Okay?
Yes. Yep. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Pastor. Yeah. This was right at the end. I'm like, okay, I will go, and so I don't have as much study into these last few verses.
No, that's,
Thank you, Pastor. Yep. So what we are seeing here, okay, I mean, imagine not only do we see him approach this man, he doesn't know who he is at this point, okay, but as soon as he found out who it was, immediately, what did he do?
So I'm just-
Fell on his face.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, that was all that he needed to fall, to bow down and worship. He fell on his face to the earth and worshipped. Now, I would love to know exactly how it went. I mean, we will look at the conversation that went between them, okay? In chapter 6, we'll look at that next week. Speaking of the upcoming conquest of Jericho, okay? But just that initial reaction and how it really went about with them, you know, seeing just to be like what they say, a fly on the wall, you know, for that conversation. I mean, so many other places in Scripture we could, you know, have that same outlook as well. But yeah, that would be what a wonderful thing to have been able to see that. And I mean, so Moses was in the presence of God.
Yeah.
Okay? But he was never able to, because no man can look on God's face. Okay? But in this case, I mean, Jesus is God the Son. He's not the Father, but he's God the Son. I mean, in Joshua isn't just, you know, like Moses having to hide sort of behind a rock, you know, as God was right there and moved past him. Okay, he's able to sit there and talk with part of the triune God, be able to sit there and talk with Jesus. Before, I mean, so obviously, this would be before the scars, you know? It was, I mean, what a wonderful, wonderful thing. Okay, we're going to go ahead and end there tonight. And next week, like I said, we will look at their conversation and everything and that comes up with it. Let's go ahead and close in prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you so much for tonight. And Lord, I thank you for your word, and Lord, the many things that we can learn from it, the many things we can glean from it. And Lord, I just thank you that no matter where we are in our Christian walk, no matter how many times we may have read the Bible, no matter how many times we may have studied, Lord, I just thank you for the fact, Lord, that we can always learn something new. And just proof of it, as we call it, the living word, just proof of that. And I thank you so much for it. And Lord, I thank you for your love, your mercy, and your grace. And Lord, I ask for your blessing on this church and on these people. And Lord, also on these new Bible studies that have started up as well. And Lord, I just pray that there would be a lot of growth in the people that are attending these. And what a great thing to have to say that one of the Bible studies is already full, not able to have any more at that Bible study. I mean, what a great thing to be able to say. Lord, I just thank you so much for that, and we ask all these in your name. Amen.
Amen.